All right, so let's take a look at paperwork in woodworking. Is it fun? Nope. Is it enjoyable? Usually not. I kind of enjoy some of it, maybe some of the drafting stuff, but I definitely don't enjoy sitting down and doing paperwork. When I come into the wood shop, I want to work. I want to do stuff. Just like everybody. But guess what? The better you are at your paperwork and your processes and you plan things out correctly, you're going to end up with a better project in the end. So the first thing that I want to talk about is, why is it important? Well, you're going to end up with a better project in the end, and I think you're going to be happier in the end once you're all done. And usually it saves a lot of time. It may feel like it takes longer because of the work that you do up front, but you actually end up saving time and mistakes that you make, maybe multiple trips to the lumber yard or to the store. Whatever it is, you end up saving a lot of time because of this. The other thing that I personally find is really important, especially in today's age where everybody wants to use everything electronically. Everything has to be digital. Everything has to be used in technology. I don't believe that way. I think we use technology to help supplement us, but I think there are some things that can still be done correctly and well just by the way that we do them with our hands. And one of those things is drawing. Well, I am a big believer in taking pencil to paper, or in this case, Sharpie Ultimate Fine Markers. I like to use these things. But when we draw things out, or when we physically write them, we are mapping a muscle memory onto our brain with our fingers. So number one, it helps us remember things better, which for me, I'm 38 years old and I have a family. I need all the help remembering anything I can get. And then secondly, it also helps us problem solve as we're going through the project. Sometimes we can think about, how do I want this piece to join with this piece? Does this dimension look correctly? And when we draw to scale, do things visually look correct? Oh, the first thing that I do here in the Railsplitter Woodshop, my intro students, I have them use plans that I've already made. And number one, it keeps things simple, and they haven't learned the process yet on how to draw correctly and how to map things out and do a correct plan of procedures. So I like to use a paper that I actually use on Google Classroom, and I put up our 4 projects that we will do throughout the semester. I put them up, and we use these throughout the semester, or now they can use by getting on a computer or their phone. So for my advanced students, which really this video is for, my advanced students come in, and for their projects, I want them to be able to draw a rough sketch. So if they decide that they want to draw, if they want to build a shop stool, I don't care if on a napkin. They can take a scrap piece of paper, whatever, I don't even have them turn it in. I like this to be the problem-solving rough sketch. So they can quickly draw something, write down a few dimensions, draw out a couple of things. They should be able to do a rough sketch of a basic sized project in here, which would be something like a shop stool. They should be able to draw that within 5 to 10 minutes. From that rough sketch, now they need to take a paper to scale and actually draft it. Use a drafting board, use a T-square, use other squares, use an architectural ruler, and draw these things correctly. This takes a little bit of time, especially if you're not used to it. It might take you a few days even to do, a few class periods even to do. So a couple of hours. If it does, that's fine. What's going to happen is, as you're going along this process, you're going to find your joinery, you're going to think about sizing. When you scale things out correctly, you're going to be able to see what visually looks right, or if maybe you're trying to do something with a piece of wood that shouldn't be done, whatever it is. So here's an old project, or here's an old drafting project from a student from a couple years ago. This is a multi-view where you're seeing the top of the table, the side of the table, and the end of the table, and this is his isometric view. Okay, primarily in here, I want to at least see a multi-view drawing. Okay, which brings us to this. Okay, so here's the shop stool that we build at the beginning of the year, and this shop stool shows us both the side view and the top view. I show some joinery and this is drawn to a 3:1 scale. So you can literally put your architectural ruler on here and find all your material. I list a number of features, joinery, and then a plan of procedures on here. These are the things that we need to have done after your rough sketch. From your drafted project, I like you to come up with a note section, and I like to use either a note section for features that can explain the type of joinery we're going to use, the type of wood we're going to use, the way that we're going to finish something. We can use it as a material takeoff, and then what we can also use it for is a plan of procedures. So we can plan out our problems as we're going to encounter them. For instance, taking a 6-inch board and cutting it down to 3 2-inch strips or whatever it is. Here's just a small box that I made a couple years ago to show you. This was a small recipe box that I made. So here's my top view, front view, and side view, and then here's my plan of procedures that I walk through. Here's a project that I did a year ago. I made a welcome center for our church. Here's a top view, a front view, and our side view. And if you notice, my top view is drawn in line, and my side view or my front view and my side view are drawn in line with each other as well. That's some drafting tricks that can help speed up. I have a material list here, and then finally, one of the most important things is that here's our bill of material. So I have listed out the parts, I have listed out the species that we are using, I have listed out the number of pieces. This is how we figure out our board footage, or in this case I actually used a lot of plywood, so I ran everything off square footage numbers. And then finally, anything extra that we needed, and a final cost here. Finally, we're going to use our bill of materials, which you see here. So this is a bill of materials that our last woodshop teacher had something similar to this, and I kind of refined it to fit what we're doing. But this is to show students, basically it makes them write out all of the pieces that they're going to need. So now they have to come up with dimensions. In order to do this, they have to come up with basically all of their cut pieces. So it forces them to write this stuff down. This also helps plan out how much material they're going to need and then how much this project is going to cost. So then they come up with a final number by figuring out their material, their board footage, whether there's going to be any hardware or stain or whatever it is that they're going to need special to buy. So they can use these things and figure out their final cost, so then they know what it's going to cost them. So finally, again, why is it important to do paperwork and woodworking? Well, it's going to help us problem solve. It's going to help us work our way through our problems. As we're drawing things out, we will start to see problems that we wouldn't have seen unless we were doing this. And then that gives us a chance to fix those problems before we've made any cuts to any wood. It also helps us map out the plan of procedure and make sure that we're going in order so that it makes sense as the project is built. Paper to pencil helps map those drawings, and it helps map that project into your brain, will help you remember better or problem solve in advance. You're going to make less mistakes. There's going to be less chance of you cutting a board incorrectly, which means you don't waste material. It will also help us buy the correct type of material and the correct quantity of material, which is very important. I don't want to have to make multiple trips to a lumber yard. I want to go buy everything that I need, get it in one trip, and then get home. And so finally, the correct bill at the end of this project will lead to you making more money and your customer being happy at the end, because you're going to come into budget. You're going to come under budget, or at least onto budget, which will, the last thing a customer wants is for you to tell them that you're going to build them a table for $100 and then you hand them a bill for $150 and they didn't change anything in the project. That means either you screwed up or you lied to them about what it was going to cost, and now you're trying to make more money off of it. Maybe they wouldn't have agreed to do the project if they knew it was going to cost $150. So these things are really important. So again, then this also leads to you making more money. If you know exactly how much material you're going to need and it's going to cost $50 and you're going to build a table for $100, you know you're going to make $50 off of it. But if you measure incorrectly and you don't plan correctly and you think it's going to cost you $50 for the material, but it ends up costing you $75, well, now you're only making $25 off the project. So that's going to cost you as well. So part of this is some business. If you have any questions, or if you're a shop teacher and you would like to see any of these plans, any of these forms that I use, or anything that we've done here, send me a message. I will put my school email address in the link below, in the notes below, so that you can contact me. That's going to cover it for us. I hope you guys have enjoyed. I hope we got something out of it. And you can see from these projects here that we have a lot to figure out and we have a lot to work through. But again, doing these things and taking the time and taking the energy at the front of the project to plan accordingly will lead to a better project. You'll make more money on it and your customer's going to be happy in the end. Thanks for tuning in. Go check out our other videos.